This is introduction to MySQL. MySQL is a database that stores information. You may be wondering that what do we refer to as database? I believe you have always been filling a lot of forms online. Forms like maybe you want to register in Gmail, you want to register Facebook account, you want to register Twitter accounts, you want to register for UTME, all these kind of forms. All these forms are being saved. By the time you fill the form, let's say for example now you went to Ewebtutor.com and you click on our registration page, you will discover that there are a lot of entries that the programmer of Ewebtutor, there are a lot of entries that they want you to enter. That is, there are a lot of things that they are asking for. Look at now, they ask for you to choose a login. They ask for your first name, your surname, your occupation, your phone, your password, your email address. So by the time you click on this register, if all this the information that you put, if this form has fully authenticated, is going to store all your information, is going to save it in the database. So if Ewebtutor web administrator, by the time they go to their database, they will be able to see all the entries that has been saved inside it. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is that by the time you fill any form in a particular site, by the time you fill any form, be the registration form, be any form, all the information that you submitted is going to be saved in that site database. So the owner of the site or the web administrator is the only one that has the right to be able to view all data that has been stored in the database. So that's just about database. So what we are trying to talk about right now is just MySQL database, and there are various ways in which you can access a MySQL database. The first one is making use of the GUI, the graphics user interface. So it now depends on the kind of devices in which you are using as the web administrator. Now let's say you are a web administrator. If you want to access your database, it now depends on the kind of device you are using. If you are using a device, a system, the best way for you to access your database is going through the PHP-MyAdmin, the web version. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say right now is, if you want to access your database as a web administrator, there are various ways in which you can access it. The first way is using the graphical user interface, the GUI, and it now depends on the kind of devices you are using. If you are using a system, then you make use of the PHP-MyAdmin, the web version. But if you are using a mobile phone, maybe you want to access your database, your MySQL database, making use of a mobile phone, then you can access that using mobile PHP-MyAdmin, the mobile version. So we are going to try the two. So let's access our database making use of the PHP-MyAdmin. So how do you do this? The first thing is for you to log into your Ewebtutor account, so that every details that we need in accessing our sites is, or in accessing our database, our MySQL database is already on your account in Ewebtutor.com. So what you are going to do is, first of all, log into your Ewebtutor account, provide your username and provide your password. To get the login details that you are going to use in accessing your MySQL database, you have to log into your Ewebtutor account. So your username is market, and concerning my own username is market, and my own password is 1234556. So I have to log into my Ewebtutor account. So now this is the cPanel username. Remember, when we are dealing with introduction to Ewebtutor, I make mention about this cPanel for you. cPanel, everything that you need to do, you need to know, that every tools you need about your server, your site, every tools you need is already inside a cPanel. The reason we haven't been using it is just the fact that we are using the mobile platform, the mobile version of the cPanel. That's why we haven't been using it. But just know one thing, this is your cPanel URL is URL that you use in accessing your database. So let's copy this. Let's open another web browser. Let's paste it. So now this is, so to ask for username and password. So the username and password that we are going to give it here right now is username and password of your server. Our username now is, so my username is markets and my password is QWERTY@2014. But note one thing, all these small letter and capital letter are very important. So what I would also advise you is just type this thing yourself. Don't try to copy and paste, because if you copy and paste, a space can be copied along with this thing, and at the end of the day it will be telling you login error. So the best thing is for you to use your hand in typing your password. So let me use my hand in typing my password, so that you not just copy and paste, because if you copy and paste there may be error. So if all is well, it's going to log in. So then we go back to how we arrive at this. What we did is this. The first thing is, I have told you that MySQL is a database. It's a database that stores your user, your site visitor informations. And as a web administrator, there are various ways in which you can access a MySQL database. The first way is using the graphics user interface. And the option number one is what? The phmyadmin, if you are using a system to access your database. This one is only applicable if you are using a system. Right now I'm using a system. That's why I'm going to access my database. I'm going to access my MySQL database using phmyadmin web version. So how are you going to do this? The first thing is log into your Ewebtutor account using your username and password I will send you during the course of registration. Once you log in, you will copy the link for you open this link, the cPanel URL. It's going to ask for the cPanel username and password. You can get that from the email we sent you. So once you log into your cPanel, the next thing is go to under your database and open phmyadmin. Can you see? Open it. phmyadmin. So open the phmyadmin. Sorry, there is an error the other time. So open the phmyadmin. Open the phmyadmin. So now, if all is well, you should have something like this. It's still loading. So this is what you will click. You will click on this link, phmyadmin. Click on this link, phmyadmin. So if all is well, to ask for your phmyadmin username and password, you use the same username and password as your cPanel. But there are sometimes that it will not ask you for this. So it will just take you directly. But if it asks, just press your username and password for your cPanel. So my username is for my cPanel is markets and my password is, I have told you, use your hand to type it. Use your hand. So you still use the same, whenever it asks you for username and password for phmyadmin, you still use the same the password, username and password for your cPanel. So right now this is our MySQL database. So this is a MySQL database. This is it. So any look at this market site now. Let me go to the market site, my site. Let me go to my website. Under my website now, any forms that a user fills, whatever form that my user fills, maybe my site visitors, any form that they fill, their data will be automatically saved inside this database. So this is just an introduction into MySQL database. So this is the system version. The reason we call it a system version, the phmyadmin system version, is because of, if you are using all these small phones, because of the kind of JavaScript that they use creating this interface, you may not be able to access it in some phones, especially all these low memory phones like Java. So Java cannot render this page well as you are seeing it right now. So that is why we say that this one is it's not as if it will not open it, it will open it, but the way you will see the font, the background, the picture, the way it is now is not going to be perfect like this. So that's why we say that we call this one a system version. That is, we can only access it making use of a computer. So right now we are going to go back to how to access the mobile PHP. So to access your mobile PHP, so this time around, if you are a mobile user, you are using mobile phone, maybe you want to access your MySQL database using a mobile phone, then you can be accessing it using what? Mobile PHP. Note, irrespective of which other one you use, whether you use the web version or you use the mobile version, you are still going to do the same thing there. It just depends on if you are using mobile PHP admin. That means if you are using a mobile phone to access mobile PHP admin, it's going to create a mobile version of PHP admin for you, so that everything you need is going to be there. So, but if you are using a computer, you can use the PHP admin, the web version. So it will run that. So, but whether you are using, if you are using a system, you can use both the PHP admin web version and the mobile version. You can use the two. You can use this interface to access MySQL database. But for mobile user, please don't use the web version, because if you use the web version, the way to render it may not be okay. So the best thing is to use the mobile version. But for a computer user, you can use the two version, anyone you like. You can choose anyone. Whatever you can do with the web version, you can also do it with the mobile version. So it now depends on whatever devices that you are using. So now let's go to how to access our MySQL database making use of the mobile version. So to do that, all you need to do is to go to Ewebtutor website. Go to ewebtutor.com. So when you go to ewebtutor.com, you are going to see mobile PHP admin. This is it. So this is the mobile version of PHP admin that we created. So, but note one thing: if is the system version, that is to say the web version, you can access that from the cPanel by getting the cPanel URL, logging into your cPanel username and password. Then when you log into your cPanel, you are going to click on PHP admin. Then you access the web version of PHP admin. That is a PHP admin is the same as your MySQL database. You access the web version. But if you are using a mobile phone, then mobile PHP admin is what you need. So you go to our website ewebtutor.com and you click on mobile PHP admin. So when you click on mobile PHP admin, it's going to ask for a server. Just leave it at localhost. Leave your server as localhost. Then it's going to ask for username. Then make use of the username that's your cPanel username. Use your cPanel username. It's going to ask for a password. So I've told you, don't copy and paste the cPanel password. Type it with your hand so that you won't make mistake. So this database, leave it empty. Then you click on login, or you check permanent login and click on login. So if all is well, then you should be able to log into your server. This is your database. You can see that the database you see here is what? Is one information schema. You can see that this is the same thing that you see here, information schema. This new that you are seeing here now is telling you that you should create a new database. So the database that is inside this thing now, this is what? Is information underscore schema, and it's still the same thing that is here, information underscore schema. So that's what I'm just trying to tell you is that whatever you can do with the web version of my database, with the web version of MySQL, the PHP admin, you can also do it with the what? With the mobile version. Just that their interface is what is different. This interface is created for mobile user, where this interface is created for web user. But irrespective of whichever one you use, you will still do the same thing. So this is just how to access your what? How the web administrator is going to. This is how they can access their database, whether the web version or the mobile version. But for the case of this tutorial, everything we are going to be doing, we are going to be making use of the mobile version. So whatever examples that we are going to give you throughout the end of this MySQL, we are going to be using mobile version. So but whatever you still do with mobile version, you can still use the web version in doing the same thing. So whatever we are practicing in mobile version, you can also be doing it in web version. So it now depends. But the Ewebtutor is created for those people that are using a mobile phone or they are using a system. It's created for the two users, but all our tutorial will make use of a mobile, as in we make use of the mobile version. Like our FTP now, we make use of the mobile version, and our database also, MySQL database, will make use of the mobile PHP MyAdmin. So whether you use the web version or you use the mobile version, you are still going to arrive at the same thing. So just note one thing, because everything that whether we go to the whether we use the mobile PHP MyAdmin or we use the web PHP MyAdmin, irrespective of whichever one, is asking for cPanel username and password. So, and it's only web administrator that has access to the username and password of a site, of his own site. So meaning this mobile, whether the mobile PHP admin or the web PHP admin, is only accessible by a web administrator. So you don't give your site user or your site visitor, you don't give them the right to log into your database. Just for example, now let's say facebook.com now release their username and password to you for their cPanel. Do you know that you can log into Facebook username and password and download all the information, all the contact information of all the registrants in Facebook? And that is a great loss to Facebook. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that your cPanel username and password, you have to keep it safe, because if one of your site visitors have access to it, they can log into your site and they can log into your database and manipulate any information that is there. They can collect security information of people, like their account number. If the site deals with account, look at for example now PayPal deals with a payment gateway, and you know what a payment gateway is. A payment gateway will hold credit card information of a lot of users. If I was able to have access to username and password of PayPal now, then that means I can log in their cPanel, I can log in to PayPal cPanel and access their PHP admin, their MySQL database, and I can be able to look at credit card details of their users, and I can be able to do as in any fraudulent, I can carry out any fraudulent activities. So just know one thing, your cPanel and your MySQL database is only accessible by you. Don't give out your password or your username or your password to your site users, because if you give it out, they also can have access to your database and they can be able to manipulate any data inside it. And note, if you create a site that millions of users have already subscribed to, so that means if a user have access to your database, he or she has access to that millions of user information, and that is a great loss to you. So just always keep your username and password, cPanel username and password, always keep it safe. So now let's work on this database. So which one should we choose, the web version or the mobile version? Let's use the web version for now. The web version. So let's go to the web version. So right now, if you want to create a database in the web version, you can't create it directly in the PHP admin interface that you open. You have to go back to your cPanel where you log in. You now go to MySQL database. You know, this is where you click the other time, PHP admin. That's how it opens this interface. So if you want to create a new database, all you need to do is go to your cPanel, then you open this. Let's open this MySQL database in another tab. MySQL database. So our IP has been changed, so it's asking us to log in again. So let me put my password, my cPanel password. It can always ask you to log in anytime, so it's better you just know the password on your head, so that you just be logging in every time it's asking to log in. So now let's create another new database. Let's create. Can you see this preview is always asked, that is your username is always added to any database you want to create. So let's just create something DB database. So now sorry, there's an error. Let's go back and recreate it. But there's a mistake that we made. So DB. So let's create database. So the database has been created. So what I'm trying to say is that whenever you want to create database, you can't create it on this interface. You have to go back to the cPanel. You know, the other time we go back to the server and we click on PHP admin. That is how we are able to see our database PHP admin. But right now we are not going to PHP admin. We are going to go to MySQL database. So this is where you can create new database. That is, I've added new database now. By the time you go to the database the php and you refresh the page, the database just created now, you are going to see it. It's going to show. Database just created now is going to show, it's going to display. Let it finish loading. This is the database you just created, market_db. So just know any database you create on your site, the username of the site underscore the name of database. The name of our database is db, but our username is market. That's why you have market_db. This is a database that you have created now. So just note, any database you create on the MySQL, by the time you go to your cPanel and you click on MySQL, any database you created, automatically by the time you refresh your php, the name of database will have appeared. So if I go back to my mobile php, if I refresh this page also, what will you do? You discover that another database will have been added here. So I've told you that whatever happens in your normal php, your web php, it also happens in your the mobile version. This one is just a mobile version of what is present here, because we discovered that some mobile phone will not be able to render this page very well. That's why we created the mobile version. So let me refresh this page now. You discover that our market_db also will have been there. Let's refresh. Let's log out and re-log in back. So markets. The other time I refreshed, we didn't see any changes. The reason is because maybe it's because of the section has expired. So let's just log in with the username and password and see if our database is already there. Guys, see market_db is already there. So just know one thing: when you are working with the interface of a database, whether the mobile version, whether the web version, there are three things that you need to know. There is the first thing, we call it the database. You have to create a database. The second thing is create a table, and the third thing is name the fields. That is to say, name the table field. So right now I've already explained to you how to create a database. All you just need to do is go to MySQL database. It's going to ask for the name of database you want to create, and when you click on create, so you ask for the name of database, you will enter it here, then you ask it to create database. Here now we only have one database, market_db, and whenever you open your php admin or you open your mobile version, you are still going to see that market_db. So every database always have a table. That's what we did here. Every database always have a table, and every table always have fields. You will see what we mean by that now. You see what we mean. Let's say you are a user and let's say you are a web administrator, and on your site you have maybe you want users to be able to view as in fill a form, a registration form. Let's say the registration form has three fields: name, email, and age. For that registration form, you are going to create a table, a database. Let's call the name of the database market_db. We've already created it, market_db. So on this market_db here, we are going to have a table. So you click on market_db. So you are going to click on market_db. So you are going to wait till the page load. Can you see it's taking time? It's because we are using the web version. That's why it's taking time. So that's why I told you that the best thing is to be using the mobile version, because this web version is always taking time to load, and that's why we say that it's not advisable for mobile user. So now once it's load, the next thing is, can you see we are in database market_db now. Then it's now asking us that no table found. It's because this database does not contain any table, and I've told you that every database have a table, and a table has a field. So right now let's create our table name. Let's name it registration table. Let's name it registration table. Number of columns is the same thing as field. I've told you that every table has field. Column is the same thing as field. Then you now also say that how many number of columns, that is how many number of fields will I have. I've told you that the kind of forms that we want to store, the kind of forms that we want to store. I told you that we want to store a form that has 3 fields, that's a 3 column, which is name, email, and what, and age. So that means our number of field is what, is 3. So we'll ask it to go. For now, don't bother yourself about the types. Another name for types is what we refer to as the data types. I will still explain what it does for you, but for the case of this tutorial, make sure you are using varchar. Just use varchar all through, but I will still explain what these data types means. But for now, just use varchar in everything for the course of this tutorial. So our first field is what, is the name, the second field is the email, and the third field is what, is the age. This length, just set it to 200. All this thing is still something I will still explain for you. Just leave it to 200. All these other one, just these 3 fields is what is compulsory: the name, the types, and the length. All these other fields are optional. So for now, we are not going to talk about them, but we will still talk about them later. But just know these 3 fields, this name, type, and the lengths are very important. The name, the types, and the lengths are very, very important. So that is why we name them. We name all our fields. The first name is name, the second one is email, and the third one is what, is age. And we give them length of 200 each. I will explain what all these ones means, and I give them the data types of what, of varchar. So the rest field, all this field, just leave it empty like that. Then you click on save. So under our field market_db now, we have a table. And what's the name of the table? Registration table. So if you want to see the kind of field, maybe later, maybe you want to see the kind of field that you put inside registration table, then all you just need to do is go to the table structure. This is table, registration table. Go to the structure. This is structure. Click on the structure. Then it's going to list the fields. That is, we have 3 fields: 1, 2, 3. The name, the email, the age. So that means whenever a user visit your web page and fill your registration form that contain the 3 fields: the name, the user field is name, Ola, field is email, ola@yahoo.com, and field is age 27, and click on register. Automatically the data that the user fills here is going to go directly to the database and store inside the database. So even if 100 users fill that form that day, let's say one fill it in US, another one fill it in Australia, 50 people fill it in London, irrespective of wherever place that they fill it, all the data is going to be dumped inside this registration table. So the web visitor can now visit the cPanel. After the cPanel, click on phpMyAdmin. When it's open, click on market_db and click on what? When it gets to market_, click on browse. So when you click on browse, you'll be able to see the number of people that have filled. You'll be able to see their entry. Can you see that right now? Can you see that it said MySQL return an empty result? It's because nobody has filled any form. No form has been filled. That's a no form has been filled that will dump its data inside this table. But as soon as a form has been set and the form has been filled now, the data will be automatically goes into this database and stores inside this database. So right now, just remember, I told you that every database, whenever you create a database, you go to MySQL, you click on MySQL database, you go to cPanel, you click on MySQL database, then you create a database. Once you create a database, you access the database in phpMyAdmin. When you access the database in phpMyAdmin, market_db now, every database always have a table, and every table always have a field. I can create another table again. Let me go back to market_db. You can click here, or you click on market_db. Normally there is a table there. The table is what? Registration table. I can create another table. I can call it login table. Login table. Number of column. Login is always 2 column. Username and password. I'll just keep this one 2. Go. This is another table, login, and this is where we contain information of people that want to log into my site. So here now I can say username. I can name the first field username and the second field password. I've told you that don't mind this thing yet. I will still explain to you. Put it varchar, and your length set it to 200. Leave the rest field and click save. Right now I have how many field now? I have how many table now? I have 2 table. So inside a database can contain thousands of table. So inside this database market_db now, I have 2 tables inside it, the login table and the registration table. So whenever any user visited my form, automatically their information will be disposed inside this registration table. So if I want to look at the number of users that have the number of people that have the number of users that have filled a particular form in a day, all I need to do is go to my PHP admin. I don't need to click on login table because login table contains users information that will be able to register in my site. But the information I'm looking for is the information that they just input. That's the input information. That's the form they just filled. Those users are just registering in my site. Is the information I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on what? The registration table. But because the registration table is still empty, there is nothing inside it. That's why you are seeing MySQL return an empty result. But instead of you to create a form that the user will be able to place an entry, and whatever entry that they place, if they place name Ade, email ade@yahoo.com, age 27, that information will expect it to be inside the registration table database. But right now, since I don't have any form and I want to insert information, let me say I want to insert like 2 different information inside my database now. All I need to do is go to registration data table. Like now I'll click on inserts. So if I click on insert, it just bring something like a form, but note this form is only for me to make use of as a site administrator, as this web administrator. I only have right to use this form to input data. That is, I should input a preset data inside my database. But note, I've told you that you don't give your username and password, simple username and password, to your site visitor. So there's no way your site visitor will have access to this this form. So this form is just created in this database, just put inside the database. This insert is just put inside the database so that I can add data directly into my database without using a form. Normally I should create a form. It's not that form that my user will be able to that will be able to connect the data of my user to the database. I should create a normal form. But this time around, there's another form, the insert inside my database. This insert I can use to insert data myself. So I can say a name, I can say admin, email, I can say admin@market.com, age, I can say 27. I want it to go. So I've told you that whenever you click on registration table, just click browse. You see those users. Can you see? It's only one user that has filled my form. It's only one user information that I have, and that user is what? Admin. His email is admin@market.com and 27. But note, this information I preset it myself, making use of the insert tool in my database. So if I want to add another information now, I can click on insert. I can say Biola email. The name is Biola. The email is biola@yahoo.com, and the age is 86. Go. So I'll click on browse. So I'll be able to see my information. Can you see? There are 2 users now. So, but just know these 2 users, I'm the one that preset it myself. I'm the one that enter it into my database using the insert button in my PHP admin. But the normal way for you to collect data is through form, and that form your user will be able to have access to it. So whatever, like now, like the registration form of Ewebtutor now. Let's go to Ewebtutor, the register page. This registration form now is a form that I created for my user in order for me to collect their information. So whatever the user enter here now is going to go to what? The Ewebtutor database, and the information will go and store inside the Ewebtutor database. So the web administrator of Ewebtutor can now log into their PHP admin and have access to the data that the user has sent. Just as simple as that. But Ewebtutor also can create user directly by themselves without using this form. They can create user directly, and how do they do that? They will log into their PHP admin and they will click on insert. So they will just register they will preset the value like I did this. So this time around now, for this user now, you don't need to collect forms. So I can decide if I have like 10 users that I want to register directly. I don't want them to register in my site. I want to do the registration myself for them. All I just need to do is click on insert like 10 times. Then I will just be changing the names of the user and I will register them. So those people don't need to register again. But whatever user that I want to collect their information, any user that I want to collect their information, then I have to send them to what? To my registration page for them to go and register. But we are still going to do all these things in complex, as in the complex way. There is a complex way of doing this thing. So I believe we are going to talk about that later. Well, everything that we have created here, let's access it in our mobile PHP admin. This is mobile PHP admin. So I can click on market DB. Can you see? How many table did I have in my normal web PHP admin? I have market DB and what? And login. I have login table and I have what? Registration table. And that is what you are seeing presently. Login table and registration table. So if I click on registration table, I will see the users. Here now, this is what I see. Show, I was in what? Show structure. Can you see? Normally this one now, by the time you click on market DB, by the time you click on market DB, when you click on the registration structure, this one is just ordinary structure and you are able to see name, email and age. But this one, what do they call it? They call it show structure. So these are just the difference between them, but it's still the same thing that they will give you. Can you see the output that this one give you is what? Name, email and age. This one also give you output of what? Name, email and age. It's still the same thing. But is that what they will write on it is what is different from the mobile the web one. So here now, if I click on browse, I will see those users that have registered. I will see their details. It's only 2 users that have registered. I will see their details here. These are their details. But assuming there is no user that have registered, assuming it's empty, to tell me that it is empty. But because some users have registered, although I'm not that registered them, but there's no way I will know that. So if some users have registered, that's why I see these 2 register. But right now, I can click here. If I want to see users that have registered now on this table, I do show structure means it should show the structure, that is the fields, the name, email and age. I believe you know this. And I use voucher for the type and I set it to 200. This is 200 you are seeing. So if I want to see it now, instead of me to click on browse in normal web PHP admin, I will click on select data. So select data is going to tell me, can you see? This select data will now tell me, will now show the data, just like we are clicking on browse. The work of browse that will show you the users that have registered is the same work that select data is doing. Select data is going to tell you, is going to show you the users that have filled your form. So the user is what? Admin and what? Ambiola. And it's the same thing I have here, admin Ambiola. So just note one thing. If I want to create new something now, normally if I want to create new user now from this admin panel, from this page admin, if I don't want to use normal registration form, if I want to use this mobile page to create new data, as me I want to use this web version to create new data, I will just click insert. Then I will be able to insert new data. But if I want to use mobile admin to create new data, I don't have to click on insert. All I will do is what? I will just click new item. Can you see? It will ask for the name of the person. Let me say Jide this time around. Email jide@yahoo.com. And age, let me say 54. So I will save it. Can you see? Jide is there now. So if I will go back to my normal web platform and I click on browse, I will see the results. Jide. So whatever you do in web version, automatically you are going to find it inside the mobile version, and whatever you do inside mobile version, automatically you are going to find it in web version. The difference between the mobile version and the web version is just their naming. This one, whenever you want to create, as you want to insert another another data of a particular user, whenever you want to insert his data inside this page admin, you click on new item. But in this case, whenever you want to insert new data, what you click on insert. And whenever you want to show the data of user that is already registered, you click on browse here. But whenever you want to show data here, what you click on select data. So you just be clicking on each links and click on each links here, so you will find the similarity there. So but as time goes on, we are going to explain in details all about the PHP admin. Just know PHP admin is just a database to store user information. It now depends on, as a web administrator, it now depends on the kind of device you are using. If you are using a mobile phone, use the mobile platform, mobile version, and if you are using a system, use the web platform. So just know one thing, irrespective of whatever one you are using, whether you are using the mobile platform or you are using the web platform, it's only you that have access to it, because it requires a username and password that is visible. You have to enter it. So anybody that doesn't know your username and password cannot log in into your database. So that is why we said here that the GUI, the graphics user interface, is only accessible by the owner of the website or the developer. So this aspect now is only the ways, as in this graphics user interface is only the way as in, how would I put it, is a way in which you can access your database as the site administrator or the owner of the website. So a user, your site visitor, your site user does not have access to access your database in this way, as in using this method, this graphical user interface, because it needs a visible password, username and password, to be able to access the page. So that's why we say that it's only for the web administrator or the owner of the site that have access to use this method to access your database. So the second method in which you can use to access the database, but this method now is only for your site user, because your site user, whether you like it or not, they also need to access your database. Because if I fill the registration form of UIC now, this information needs to be stored inside UIC. If I fill the registration form of Ewebtutor now, this information of Ewebtutor needs to be stored inside Ewebtutor database. So whether I like it or not, I'm doing what? I'm accessing Ewebtutor database. Even though I didn't have the username and password to access Ewebtutor database directly, but with this form, what am I doing? I'm communicating as a user. I'm communicating with what? Ewebtutor database. So if you are a user now and you are trying to fill any form, maybe Facebook form or Gmail form, you are trying to fill any registration form, whether you like it or not, you are communicating with that site, whether Facebook or Gmail, you are communicating with their database. So the ways in which user can communicate, the only way that a user can communicate with a site database is what? Is through registration forms or login forms or update forms, contact us forms, or the anything forms is a way that a site users, a web visitor, can communicate with a database. So a site visitor, a web visitor, does not have access to communicate to the graphics user interface database. That is, they can't access the PHP admin, whether the mobile version or the web version. They can't access it because they need a password to do that. But the only sure way that a web visitor of a particular site can access the site database is using what? Is using a form. It's through a form. So like all this database that I'm creating now, that I'm inserting new data now, if I want my site visitor to be able to insert their new data, what would I do? I will create a form for them. It's not that form, whatever they type in that form and they click on register, it's not that the data, that's when the data will not be able to post here. But I can't give them access to log into this place and click on insert to insert a new data. So if I want my site visitor to be able to communicate with this registration table to be able to communicate so that they will post their data inside it, all I will do is I will create a form that will contain how many fields? The form will contain 1, 2, 3, to contain 3 fields. It will contain what? To contain age, name, and email. So when the user fill it and click on submit like this, their data will be automatically posted here. So just know the only surest way that your web visitor can access your page is through, can access your database rather, is through forms, so that they can post their information or retrieve information from the database. Is through registration, login forms, update forms, anything forms, is through forms. So whenever you see any forms inside any web page, be it Ewebtutor, be it Google, be it Facebook, whenever you see any forms, just know that that's the only way in which you can communicate with that site database. So, and that form, I've told you before when we are dealing with, I think when we are dealing with PHP and XML, I told you that this form that you are seeing now, normally a database is a place that stores information, and these forms, we create this form using what? HTML. I believe I've explained to you how to create a form using HTML. Create the form using HTML. But there is something that will connect the information that you typed inside this form. There is something that will connect that information, that will connect it to the what? To the database. So that the information you type inside this form is going to go to this, is going to be stored inside database. So what I'm just trying to say is that there is a connection between your forms, so that the data of the forms will post inside your database. What I'm trying to say is this: forms is the first thing that the user will fill. Once it's filled, whatever data that is inside this form automatically is going to be posted inside a database. This is the diagram. Whatever information that a user puts inside this form now automatically is going to be stored inside the database. So there is something that will connect this form to this MySQL database. We are using MySQL database. There is something that will connect this form to this MySQL database that we are using, and that thing is what we refer to as what? PHP. So we need something that will connect the data that a user types in the form, that will connect it to the what? To the database, so that whatever thing that a user enter inside this form is going to be posted inside MySQL database. So we need something that will connect them together, and that what we refer to as what? PHP. And that's why we said it's scripts, and that's why we said here that we can connect to our database, MySQL database. And that method in which you can connect to our MySQL database is what? Is from the script. And what's the name of the script? The name of the script is what? Is PHP. So just note one thing: you can connect to, as in your user, the only way that your web users can connect to your database is through forms. It's through forms. So, and there is something that will, whenever they enter all their information inside this form, there is something that will connect this data, that will connect it to the what? To the database. To the database. And that is what we refer to as a scripts. And the name of, we have various type of script. We have the VB scripts, we have the PHP. So you can use VB script to connect whatever values you have inside this form to this database. You can use VB script to do it also. So, but the script you are going to use, if there's any other script to use, just use one script. You can use spell. You can also use spell. But irrespective of whatever script you want to use, it's going to work. But the one we are going to use for the cost of Ewebtutor, we are going to make use of PHP. So you need something that is going to connect the data that you enter inside this form to your database, and that thing is what we refer to as a script, a PHP script. So I believe we've already talked about PHP in your previous course. We've explained to you how to write a PHP code, how to comment a PHP, how to write a PHP functions, and so on and so forth. But this time around, all we are going to teach you now inside this MySQL, that's why we call it PHP and MySQL. It's not MySQL alone. The only thing we have been explaining about MySQL database is just to give you the knowledge about how to operate a MySQL database. But it's just to give you the knowledge about how to operate a MySQL database. But that's why we told you that the major work is, that's why we said that it's PHP and what? And MySQL database. So right now, we are going to lay more emphasis, you know, throughout the MySQL tutorial. This is just MySQL introduction. But throughout the MySQL tutorial, we are going to teach you how your web user can communicate with the database with all these login forms. So before you know it, look at now, if you go to facebook.com, and it's open, look at it now, it's open the welcome page. All this information now, it's asking for your first name, your last name, your email, if you type email, your password, all the information that is asking now. Once you supply them correctly and you click on sign up, automatically this information is going to be what? It's going to be stored inside Facebook database. Facebook MySQL database. It's going to be stored there. So, and what connects this form to the Facebook database is a script, a PHP script. When you want to log in, you enter your email address and you enter your password and you click on login. Something is going to this login also is also a form. Can you see? It's also a form. Something is going to connect this information. Is going to connect it to your database. It's going to connect you to what? To Facebook database and look whether you're inside the Facebook database. It will not look whether me_lag@yahoo.com and this password I enter maybe is inside the database. If it's inside the database, it will take me to my profile page. So what I'm trying to say is that this one now is going to post this information inside database, inside Facebook database. But this one now is going to check, this form is going to check if this information I enter now, if it's already present in Facebook database. If it's present, it's going to log me in. So these are forms. So these are what we are going to teach you at the end of this program. And you know that we told you that this is the only way the user, your web visitor, can only have access to your web visitor can only have access to your database using forms. So throughout our PHP and MySQL course, we are going to be talking about how to create all these kind of forms and how to connect them with database. So we have already finished the aspect of, as a web visitor, how you be able to create a database, how you be able to create a table, how you be able to browse through the data you have collected so far. So like this registration table now, as people are registering in your site, automatically the list keep on populating. So if you log in now, like right now, I click on registration table, I saw that it's only 3 people that have registered now. So if I come back like an hour later, these 3 can change to 5. 2 people may have joined it again, so I can see their details now. So I have told you how, as a web administrator, how you can access your MySQL database, making use of the web version or you make use of the mobile version. I've already taught you how you can access it. So we'll finish everything on how you can access your MySQL database as the web administrator. But what we are going to be talking about right now is how you can create a forms in your site, whether a login form, whether a registration form, and that form will be able to communicate with your database. And that's why we've put it in the section of accessing database from a script. Because before you can connect any form, be login forms, be registration forms, these forms, be login form, before you can connect this form with a database, you need a PHP scripts. So we are going to teach you now throughout this MySQL PHP and MySQL tutorial. We are going to be teaching you how to connect your forms with your database. So what you are going to expect at the end of this program is what we believe you will have learned is how we can create a registration forms, how we can create a login forms that when we click on login, we are going to enter into our profile. So when you click on login, we are going to have something like a profile page. Can you see? You are going to see something like a profile page when you click on login. So these are the things we are going to create. We are going to learn now in this tutorial. So like all these things now, these are the things we are going to learn in this tutorial. So these are what you are expecting. At the end of this tutorial, you should be able to build a registration page, a registration form that when user fill and they click on submit, you can be able to retrieve their information inside your database, because whether you are using the mobile version or you are using the web version, you can retrieve their information. And once the user log in to your site, you should be able to take them to the profile page if their login is successful. If their login is not successful, that is the details that they input, if it's not present in your database before, you should be able to tell them that their data is not present, that they should click on registration page so that they can register again. But if their information is inside your database, you should be able to direct your user automatically, like Facebook now. When I click on login, what did it do? It directs me to my profile page. So you should be able to create a profile page that you direct your user to. So we believe that at the end of this course, this PHP and MySQL, you should be able to understand how to do all this. So right now we have already finished with the GUI, because you know that GUI, the graphic user interface of accessing MySQL database, is only for the web administrator. But this way of accessing your MySQL database, that is the ways of from a script, this way of accessing your MySQL database is only for your website visitor. But right now I have not explained to you how you will create the forms and how the form is going to post the data directly into the database. All I just explained to you is, as a web administrator, how you'll be able to access your MySQL database, and you can also insert data yourself without using a normal registration form. So you can insert data yourself, and the data you are going to see it by clicking on browse on the database. But right now, throughout this tutorial now, what we are going to be talking about is how to create a forms for your site visitor, so that they can be able to communicate with your database. So just know this aspect is only for your website visitor, so that they will be able to communicate with your database, whether to store their information in database, whether to retrieve their information in database, whether to update their information in database. So these are the things we are going to talk next. So this one is just to introduce you to communicating with database from a script. So but we have not really explained to you how you come across it. So that is what we are going to explain in the next that's what we are going to be explaining throughout this PHP and MySQL course. But I believe we've already explained these aspects for you, as a how to connect to your MySQL database from using a web version or a mobile version of PHP admin. This way is only your web administrator that have the right to do it, but this one is for your site visitor. So they can, but the only ways that they can communicate to your database from a script is through forms, through web forms. So throughout this tutorial, normally I have teach you how you are going to be creating a form using HTML, but what I've not taught you is how the form is going to be connected to the database. And that's what I'm explaining now, that for a form to be connected to the database, you need a script, and that script is PHP. So throughout the course of this PHP and MySQL, we are going to be talking about how PHP serves as a connector between HTML forms and a database. So how is it that your user, by the time they fill their form, how does the data that they inputted, how does it store inside the database? And how can you make sure that by the time you create a registration form, how is it that the data of your user, how will it store inside the database? We are going to show you how all this is done. So just follow this MySQL course, my PHP and MySQL course, because I believe that we've already taught you PHP syntax, how to write a PHP program. We've already done that in the previous course, but this course now is talking about PHP. Normally we've taught you about PHP as we taught you about how to write a PHP program, how to create a variable in PHP, how to write a function in PHP. We've already taught you that one. But this time around, how does PHP serves as a connector is what we are going to be what you are going to deal, as in what you are going to deal with in this particular aspect. So this is just MySQL introduction, but in the throughout the course of PHP and MySQL, the next tutorial in this particular course, tutorial 2, then we are going to start explaining how you can arrive at everything we have been talking so far. Say how you can create a form that will post its data inside the database, so that we can create a site that has forms, and that forms, they are working forms. They are forms that when user fills them, irrespective of wherever the users are filled the form, maybe the user filled the form in US, automatically you can go to your database here in Nigeria and still have access to the information that the user filled in US. And when the user log in with the information that is supplied during the course of registration, he should be able to go to his profile page. So how can we create a profile page? These are the things we are going to do inside the next tutorial on PHP and MySQL. So thank you so much for listening to us. Good day.